The hidden tax on your soul. There is a quiet war being waged against your focus, your energy, and your peace of mind. Most people are completely unaware they are losing it. They look for enemies outside themselves, blaming circumstances, bad luck, or other people for their stagnation. But the true leakage is internal. It is happening right now, in the silent habits you tolerate and the invisible burdens you choose to carry. Quick channel note: if you enjoy this type of content, please like and subscribe and turn on the bell notification for more Stoic foundation for strengthen your inner citadel. Marcus Aurelius once observed that most of what we do and say is completely unnecessary. If you can eliminate the superfluous, you will gain a profound amount of tranquility. But the key to this transformation is discretion. True self-mastery does not require an audience. In fact, broadcasting your self-improvement often destroys it. When you announce your plans to the world, your brain receives a premature hit of satisfaction, draining the actual discipline required to execute the change. To reclaim your power, you must perform a quiet audit of your life. You must remove the invisible anchors holding you down, and you must do it without uttering a single word to anyone. Let them simply wonder why you are suddenly unshakable. Here are the 10 things you must quietly eliminate from your life, starting today. Number 1. The impulse to explain yourself. Whenever you make a major shift in your life, your natural instinct is to justify it to those around you. You want them to understand your vision, your reasons, and your new boundaries. This is a trap. The moment you start defending your choices, you hand over your power. You invite their opinions, their doubts, and their projections into a sacred space that belongs solely to you. Epictetus reminded his students that a person who is truly master of themselves does not look to others for validation, nor do they feel the need to convince the crowd of their wisdom. Silence is a shield. When you stop explaining your decisions, your career shifts, or your lifestyle changes, you signal to yourself that your internal judgment is entirely sufficient. The mindset shift. Let your results do the talking. If you decide to wake up earlier, change your diet, or cut out toxic environments, do it invisibly. You do not owe the world an explanation for choosing to grow. Number 2. The illusion of future safety. Most people live in a state of constant deferral. They tell themselves they will finally be happy, calm, or focused once a specific milestone is achieved. They believe that peace is a destination waiting for them at the end of a promotion, a bank balance, or a relationship. This is a dangerous illusion that keeps you perpetually anxious. Seneca argued that while we are busy postponing life, time moves rapidly forward. The future is entirely outside of your control, yet you trade the only thing you actually possess, the present moment, for a phantom promise of security. By constantly looking ahead, you treat today as nothing more than a stepping stone, missing the only reality that actually matters. The mindset shift. Eliminate the habit of waiting for better conditions to practice discipline. True Stoic strength is not cultivated in ideal circumstances. It is forged in the messy, chaotic reality of the present. Peace is a choice you make right now, not a reward you earn later. Number 3. The consumption of other people's chaos. We live in an era of unprecedented noise. Every day, you are bombarded with the opinions, outrages, and dramatic crises of people you barely know, both online and in your physical circle. When you internalize this noise, you willingly surrender your mental clarity. You become a passive vessel for anxiety that does not belong to you. The Stoic philosophers frequently noted that we are infected by the moods and vices of those we associate with. If you constantly immerse yourself in complaints, gossip, and manufactured outrage, your mind will naturally mirror that instability. You cannot build an internal fortress if you keep leaving the gates wide open for external chaos. The mindset shift. Quietly detach from the drama. You do not need to have an opinion on every public scandal or personal dispute. When someone tries to drag you into their chaotic emotional vortex, remain entirely neutral. Protect your attention as if it were your most valuable asset, because it is. Number 4. The need for universal approval. The desire to be liked by everyone is a subtle form of slavery. When your emotional stability depends on the praise or approval of external voices, you become entirely predictable and easily controlled. You twist your character, suppress your truth, and dilute your purpose just to keep the peace. Think of how foolish it is to seek the admiration of people whose values you do not respect. Marcus Aurelius pointed out the absurdity of worrying about what onlookers think of you, noting that these very people are often completely lost in their own illusions. Why value the applause of a crowd that changes its mind with the wind? The mindset shift. Eliminate the desire to please the masses. Your standard of success must be internal, based on your own integrity, reason, and virtue. When you are indifferent to both praise and criticism, you finally achieve a state of unshakable autonomy. Number 5. Resentment over past injustices. Carrying a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. Every time you relive a past betrayal, an old failure, or an unfair situation, you actively hurt yourself in the present. The individual who wronged you has likely moved on, yet you remain chained to the memory of their actions. A core tenet of Stoicism is understanding that what is past cannot be modified. It has moved into the realm of fate. By holding onto resentment, you are actively fighting against reality, wishing for a past that cannot exist. This internal friction drains the energy you desperately need to build your future. The mindset shift. Forgive not out of weakness, but out of absolute self-interest. You do not need to reconcile with those who harmed you, nor do you need to tell them you have moved on. Simply drop the emotional weight in absolute silence. Let the past remain dead so that you can finally live. Number 6. The compulsion to correct everyone. How much energy do you waste trying to fix people who do not want to be fixed? Whether it is an argument on social media or a frustrating relative, the urge to correct others is driven by ego. You want to prove you are right, believe you can change their minds, or demand they see the world through your lens. Epictetus taught that we should focus entirely on what is within our own control, our thoughts, our choices, and our actions. Other people's ignorance, arrogance, or poor judgment are completely outside of your jurisdiction. Trying to reform the world through argument is an exercise in futility that only leaves you exhausted and bitter. The mindset shift. When you encounter someone who is wrong, misguided, or behaving foolishly, let it go. Smile internally and realize that their mind is their own responsibility. Save your energy for the only person you actually have the power to change, yourself. Number 7. The addiction to comfort. Modern society is designed to maximize ease. We are conditioned to avoid discomfort at all costs, seeking constant entertainment, temperature control, and instant gratification. But this endless pursuit of luxury softens the mind and makes you fragile. When life inevitably presents a real challenge, you break because you have never tested your margins. Seneca advised taking a few days every month to deliberately live on the simplest food and rough clothes, asking yourself if this is the condition you so deeply feared. By voluntarily stepping away from luxury, you realize that your mind is entirely capable of thriving on very little. You lose the fear of losing your comfort. The mindset shift. Quietly integrate small hardships into your daily routine. Take the cold shower, fast for a few extra hours, or choose the harder path when it presents itself. Do not boast about your discipline to anyone. Build a quiet, durable resilience that can survive any environment. Number 8. The habit of complaining. Complaining is a passive declaration of helplessness. When you whine about the weather, the economy, or your workload, you are stating that you are a victim of your environment. It alters nothing about the situation, but it deepens your internal misery and trains your brain to look exclusively for flaws. Marcus Aurelius gave himself a strict rule: never be overheard complaining, not even to yourself. He understood that while we cannot always control external events, we have total control over our interpretation of them. A challenge is merely raw material for your growth, but complaining turns that material into poison. The mindset shift. Eradicate complaints from your internal monologue. If a situation is bad and you can fix it, take immediate, silent action. If it cannot be fixed, accept it as part of life's landscape and move forward without emotional commentary. Transform your complaints into silent execution. Number 9. Emotional overinvestment in outcomes. It is entirely natural to desire success, wealth, and health. The mistake is attaching your core identity and emotional well-being to those specific outcomes. When you become obsessed with the destination, every delay feels like a tragedy and every failure feels like an identity crisis. You become paralyzed by the fear of losing. The Stoics used the metaphor of an archer. The archer can control how well they string the bow, how focus is maintained during the aim, and how smoothly the arrow is released. But once the arrow leaves the bow, the wind, a sudden movement of the target, or fate takes over. The archer's duty is to shoot excellently, the rest is out of their hands. The mindset shift. Pour absolute dedication into your efforts, your daily habits, and your craft, but detach completely from the final result. If you win, accept it with humility. If you lose, accept it with grace. When you do not depend on the outcome, you become impossible to intimidate. Number 10. The fear of missing out. The urge to say yes to every invitation, follow every trend, and stay updated on every minor event comes from a deep fear of insignificance. You scatter your energy in 100 different directions, trying to taste everything and ending up truly experiencing nothing. You become a tourist in your own life. True focus requires a radical willingness to be forgotten by the crowd. It requires you to sit alone in a room, working on what matters, while the rest of the world plays in superficial distractions. Seneca noted that a person who is everywhere is ultimately nowhere. Depth requires isolation, greatness requires elimination. The mindset shift. Embrace the beauty of missing out. Let people think you have gone quiet, disappeared, or fallen behind. Let them enjoy their fleeting distractions while you build something that lasts. Your absence from the noise is the ultimate prerequisite for your presence in excellence. The power of the silent fortress. The journey of self-mastery is a solitary one. It does not require a camera, a public declaration, or validation from your peers. The changes that matter most are the ones that happen in the dark, deep within the architecture of your own mind. When you quietly eliminate these 10 weights, something extraordinary happens. The noise fades, your focus sharpens, your reactions slow down, replaced by deliberate, measured actions. You become an active participant in your life rather than a passive casualty of your environment. You do not need to tell anyone that you are changing. You do not need to warn the world that you are cutting out the noise. Simply step back, withdraw your energy from the useless, and focus your mind entirely on the essential. Let the world keep playing its loud, chaotic games. You have a fortress to build, and you will build it in absolute silence. As you move forward into the rest of your day, observe where your energy is leaking. Identify the habits, the thoughts, and the dependencies that are keeping you small. And remember, the most powerful transformations are those that happen without a sound. If you found value in these insights, take a moment to reflect on which of these 10 habits you need to eliminate first. Subscribe to continue this journey of discipline and internal clarity, and consider leaving a silent indicator of your commitment below. Until next time, remain unshakable.